Alright guys, we're gonna do some dumb fishing today. By dumb, I mean down under the Marco Bridge, D-U-M-B. We just launched from the Marco Bridge. There it is in the background over there. Right over there, we're gonna be fishing the lights at night tonight, trying to get redemption on that bridge monster that we lost last time that broke my rod in half. We've still got about an hour of sunlight left though, so we're gonna go fish that little mangrove island that we hit last time, see if we can get on some big trout over there again. Alright, so we're approaching sunset. There hasn't been a bite on the mangroves this time like there was last time. It's a completely different tide. We're on a very low tide right now, almost dead low tide. Last time we were approaching high tide around this time, so completely different bite than it was the other day. But hopefully that'll translate to a better tide for fishing over there. We're going to have an incoming tide pretty much from sunset all the way until 1 or 2 in the morning, so maybe that will translate to a better bite. Last time, right after I lost that big fish, we started catching on every single cast giant gaff top catfishes, just one after the other, and they were hitting any artificial lure. It didn't matter what kind of lure you threw, they were still hitting it, so it was super annoying. In fact, my kayak is still covered with slime from the last time. I forgot to wash it. But hopefully that horde of gaff tops is gone and we'll be able to get on some good fish tonight. We'll check in with you after dark. Okay, so I got to the bridge just as the sun set. It was a slack tide, so I wasn't expecting there to be much of a bite. But every time I hit record on my GoPro, it would just instantly freeze up. On about my 3rd or 4th cast, I was just about to crash into a piling. In fact, it was the same piling where I got broke off last time. And again, when the jig was almost directly underneath me in about 20 feet of water, and I was about to just do a fast retrieve to get the jig back and throw it again, this 33-inch snook just hammered the jig. My first time catching one on a Flairhawk jig, so I was pretty excited. It was a 1.5 ounce Flairhawk white and chartreuse body with a blue tail. And I was using a Star 7-foot heavy action rod. It was a good choice. That the 7-foot rod's not too long, not so long that it's like awkward to use on a kayak, so it's the right size for a kayak. Usually guys that throw those jigs, they use 8 or 9-foot rods. Some guys even use 10-foot rods, but I'm not trying to make super long casts like they are from the shore because I'm in a kayak and I'm able to get right up on the pilings. Anyways, the rod handled it like a champ. I always felt in control of the fish, even though I was right next to a piling. I didn't feel like there was ever a danger that he was going to get inside of that piling. It was one of those pilings that the part that's above the water is like probably about a 10 by 10 foot concrete piling, but underneath it there's multiple small pilings that are supporting it, so fish can actually get in between those cracks. But I was never worried about him getting in there because the rod was powerful enough that I could completely control the fish and turn him whichever direction I wanted. So those heavy action rods are definitely the way to go when you're throwing these big jigs. For one thing, they're able to handle a jig of that weight, and also targeting bigger fish, you're able to control the fish without any worries. Anyways, my GoPro kept freezing up. I hit record right after I hooked the fish and it made a beeping noise like it was recording, but then when I looked at it after I landed it, it didn't record any of it. I ended up paddling over to a sandbar that was about 20 yards away. It's where they throw all the sand whenever they dredge the bridge. The middle of the bridge, they dredge it out deep so big boats can get through. And I guess the sand, they pump it over to this specific spot. So there's this sandbar that's only like 6 inches of water around it on low tide. So I landed there, tried to set up some lights and get some footage, but again, the GoPro just kept freezing up on me. Really disappointed in that. GoPros are kind of notorious for being problematic filming in the dark, so I may have to get a different camera if I want to keep doing this night filming, but either that or figure out some better lights. I thought I had good lights with me, but it wasn't enough for the GoPro to detect the lights and turn on. It just kept freezing up. So I took this picture obviously with my cell phone. I don't know why I didn't think about taking some video footage with my cell phone, but I didn't think of that until just after I released the fish. I was really worried about, her health. I wanted to get her back in the water and make sure that she was safe, so I ended up releasing her, and then right after I released her, I realized, man, I could have used my cell phone to take a little bit of video. Anyways, live and learn. I'm going to keep doing some more of this night fishing. Hopefully I'll get the logistics figured out so that I can actually film it next time. So let me just take a minute to show you the setup I was using to catch this fish. All right, so this is the setup I got that snook with last night. It's a 1.5 ounce Flairhawk jig. Pretty much white, a little bit of chartreuse on the bottom, and a blue tracer. I don't think color makes that big of a difference. I think they pick up on the vibration this puts out, the noise it makes in the water, and that's why they hit it. But anyways, the rod is a Star Rod Stellar Light heavy action, rated for 15 to 25 pound line and 1/2 to 2.5 ounce lure, so it's good for throwing big jigs like this. Really happy with it, just picked it up. And obviously, the very first night I used it, I caught a 33-inch snook. So happy with the rod and how it performed. I ended up pairing it with my Penn Conflict 4000. I tried putting a 5000 on it at first, and it just felt too clunky to me. I'm used to smaller reels, and really the reel, all it's doing is retrieving the line for you. You don't use the reel. You shouldn't be using the reel to horse a fish in. The rod is what fights the fish, and the reel is just to pick up the slack, basically. So you can get away with a smaller reel if that's your preference, as is the case with me. If you've never tried catching a snook on one of these Flairhawks, I highly recommend it. This was my first time catching something with one. I fished them a couple times, but never really knew what I was doing. Finally took a trip to Sebastian Inlet and watched the guys that fish these all the time. That night nobody was catching fish, including all the locals who fish there all the time. They said that the night before they had been catching fish left and right. But anyways, they shared some of their tips with me and helped me figure out the right technique. And it's a really effective way to fish for snook because you can cover a lot of ground in a short period of time. They react to that movement that this puts out. I don't think it looks like anything that they eat, but like I said, snook have that big, thick lateral line. They can feel vibrations in the water. And this, whatever sound this makes in the water drives them nuts. It's very effective. In fact, where I was last night, there was a lot of boats. It seems like there was a boat on every other piling, and they were all fishing live mullet. Nobody else was catching anything. So this definitely is, it's a fun way to catch them too, because when they hit it, you feel that thump immediately. So I highly recommend giving it a try if you haven't done it yet. Hopefully we'll get this GoPro situation figured out and figure out how to film at night using a GoPro. Haven't had much success with it yet, but eventually we'll get it figured out. To add insult to injury, I was super bummed about not getting any footage, and then when I was loading my kayak, I bashed my forehead on the rudder. That's why I got this stupid Band-Aid on my head. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.